This is the Digital Agency Insiders Podcast. Inside, you'll learn how to build, grow, and scale your digital marketing agency, all from the comfort of your favorite coffee shop. Let's get started with the show.
Everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Digital Agency Insiders Podcast, the podcast that gives you a little inside look into how entrepreneurs have built and grown their digital marketing agencies. I am your host, Tabitha Thomas, and if this is your first time listening, can I just go and encourage you to hit that subscribe button as we release new episodes each and every Tuesday. So today I have with me Amy Foley. Amy is the co-founder of Inbound Back Office. Now, Inbound Back Office is a plug-and-play system made of teams of virtual assistants specializing in supporting inbound marketing agencies, generally working with HubSpot. They believe getting administrative support shouldn't be complicated, and I'm inclined to agree with that. So, Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Tabitha.
Yeah. So I usually always open the podcast up in the same way because it's the one question that I always have for everybody, and that's, what did the path look like that led you to becoming an entrepreneur in the first place? Because everybody's story is so drastically different. I just enjoy hearing, what got you to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely wasn't a straight path. That's for sure.
It never is.
So yeah, that's what I'm finding out. So I have always been, just an administrative assistant. That's where my strengths were. My father owned a business, and summers I would work in his office, and that's where I learned, how to use a computer and how to do basic accounting. And I mean, just anything they needed, they just taught me how to do, and I did it. So, I went to school and, got degrees, but it just seemed like nothing fit. I always had this drive to do more, but it seemed like there was no place for me except this administrative role. Mm-hmm. And when you do an administrative role, what I have learned is that if you're good at it, people don't want to promote you out of it, even though you can do other things. And so they might say you're promoted, but you still are doing those administrative things. And you're not being paid for two jobs. I even went as far as getting a master's degree so that I could become a software tester, and was promoted to software testing, but was still the receptionist and still doing all the admin stuff. And
so almost like being punished for being good at your job.
Exactly. And that's how it always felt. And I mean, I'm in a small town, and so it just felt like there was I had no resources, I felt like, and it was before the internet was really the internet. So I just felt stuck. And so I just felt like that was all I had. So then when my son was 3, he broke his femur. And if I never knew this, but when you're a child and you break your femur, you need to be put into a half body cast for about 3 or 4 weeks. And so it required 2 adults just to, bathe and, get them to the bathroom and all of that. So I had to be home. And I asked my employer if I could work from home during those weeks so that I wouldn't, lose any money and wouldn't leave them in the lurch. And so they reluctantly agreed. And what I found was that I loved it so much. Even though it was hard, I was able to get up early and get a bunch of work done before anybody was awake. And then I didn't feel terrible about taking care of my family. And then, I could just work when I wanted to. I could work after they went to bed. And so when I went back, I asked them if I could, maybe work out some type of, maybe part-time working from home. And this was before working from home was really, the in thing. And so they said, absolutely not. That will not work for us. And
even though you just made it work for 3 weeks.
Exactly. I was the case study. It worked, and I actually was more efficient. I got more work done. There was literally nothing lost because of it. And it was very much no, we just need to be in the office. So that's when I started my search for, ways that I could work from home. And so I had been very active on Twitter. So I knew a lot of people who were bloggers and things like that. So I just kind of reached out and was like, hey, does anybody know of any work from home opportunities? So someone gave me a a lead on a part-time work from home job that I was able to do nights and weekends. So I did that for a long time. And then they finally had a full-time position open up. And so I took that, and it was amazing. It was challenging to transition because my youngest was just in kindergarten. So he was still home half the day. And so I was like, oh, I can do it. And I was like, yeah, this is really hard. It sucks.
It is.
So once I started getting into the groove of the job and working from home, I realized I had a lot of time on my hands. And so I was like, well, I'm really good at administrative work. So maybe I'll try like freelancing, make a little extra money, and, you know, just see what happens. So I ended up I just slapped up like some random little website. I didn't know what I was doing. It just basically had a little bit of information and a way to contact me. And I just went onto Twitter, and I was just like searching for people who were looking for virtual assistants. And I just reach out to them and be like, hey, check me out. If you want to talk, let me know. And that's when I met Michael Reynolds, who's my business partner now. And he was actually my very first client. I learned all about, because he was an agency owner at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I learned all about HubSpot. I learned all about inbound marketing, and they were willing to teach me things I didn't know. They were really amazing. And that's really, you know, where I started getting more confidence, because I was like, wow, like I can do other things and it's okay. And so I just started, you know, really niching towards marketing agencies and who I was working with. And I mean, that side of my career kind of blew up, and I left my full-time job and just kind of went out on my own. And at some point I got so busy that I started having to hire people to help me. And then it got too big for me to handle on my own. And Michael and I talked, and he was like, well, you know, I know how to run a team and an agency and do payroll and taxes and things like that. And so he's like, what if we, you know, kind of build this thing together? So we joined forces and officially launched Inbound Back Office in March of 2018.
Nice.
So entrepreneurship was never something that I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Even today, like I still like just think of myself as like I just feel like a team member, just like everybody else on the team. Like I do not feel like I'm like some business owner. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I struggle when people ask me what I do. Like
That's so funny, because people ask me what I do, and my kids, if anybody asks them, they're like, oh, she plays on Facebook all day. That's what mom does all day.
Yes.
I was like, technically, I guess kind of, because a lot of the stuff we have is on Facebook, but
Exactly.
it's not how most people, you know, play on Facebook. So
Right.
that's a wonderful story. And it's so funny because so many people are different. You have people that are like, they knew when they were 7 and they opened up this stand selling stuff to other kids that they knew they wanted to be an entrepreneur. And then the other half of the people are like, nope, not at all what I wanted. And it just found a need and filled that need. And it was incredible. So yeah, tell us a little bit about inbound marketing. What all do you guys do there? You said it started officially in 2018. So what, you know, up until that point, was it something else and then became inbound marketing?
So before it became Inbound Back Office, it was really just Amy Metherell at the time, virtual assistant, and I just had people in the background helping me. That's really what it was. And then I was like, look, I'm getting out of the actual doing of the work, and you know, it's not just me. So realized we needed to make a change. And I literally I was calling it Inbound Back Office before Michael and I, you know, officially launched it on its own.
Gotcha.
And I just, you know, I got a logo off of Fiverr, like somebody created it for me. Like I did everything so on the cheap. Like it was so simple and so basic. I was like, let's try and see if it works. And I mean, nobody cared. Like you know what they cared about? They cared that their work was getting done. It was quality, and, you know, it was fast. So, and they weren't spending $1 million to get it done. So, and they didn't have to do the work themselves. So that's really what they cared about. So that's kind of where, you know, I just put all of our focus on like that side of things. And so it really originated as just like, you know, general admin type of work. And then once we started adding people to the team who had different specialties like content writers, I was like, oh, that's a new service, because that's not something I was ever very skilled at. So I didn't really offer that as a service. But now I have somebody who knows how to write content. So yeah, we do content writing too. And then, so it just kind of evolved like that based on the people we were bringing in to help. And I was like, oh, this is great. And a lot of them were like people that were referred, by other people that I knew. So it wasn't like I was going out and, actually actively hiring for these positions. It was like, oh, hey, my friend would like to work from home and has these skills. Do you have a spot for her? And I'd be like, yes, let's do it. I was paying people through PayPal, like keeping track of everything on a spreadsheet. It was very barbaric. And that's when Michael was like, hey, it looks like you could use some help.
Yeah. Well, you just did what you had to do to get it off the ground. And
I'm very action oriented. So like sometimes it can seem a little reckless in that, like, a lot of times I don't really think things through the whole way. I'm just like, let's just go do it. We'll see what happens. There's no way to really predict exactly what's going to happen. You can think about like, these are the things that could happen, but you really don't know until you actually do it. And I find that I'm much more apt to actually follow through on things if I just get started.
That's awesome. And so many people are so opposite of that. They are so crippled by fear of what could be that they never even take the step, because they just clam up and they're like, I don't know if I could. I don't have this workout, or it's not perfect. They can't launch it until it's perfect. And so seeing somebody that just takes action is so refreshing. So that is amazing.
Absolutely. And one of our big things is getting feedback. Like I kind of so I now do all of the sales for inbound back office. Michael does all the, payroll and taxes and all that stuff that I don't have a brain for, but I do the sales. And one of the big things that I use is that, we are human beings. We are good at a lot of things. We also make mistakes, and like, it's a constant improvement type of environment, and feedback. Like, I want it all. If you tell me that our team did something that's terrible, I want to know about it so that we can fix it, so that, even if you don't ever want to work with us again, that somebody else doesn't experience that same thing.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of what gives me the confidence to be like, let's just get it out there. Let's just, do it, and we'll fix things along the way.
Gotcha. So what exactly makes an ideal client for inbound back office?
So, obviously marketing agency. We also, we'll work with, like individual marketing consultants who are just kind of like starting out, who are trying to, do everything, and don't have the time to do everything. I would say that mostly people who are not micromanagers, and I would say probably small to medium-sized agencies are probably the best fit. A lot of times with the larger agencies, there tend to be too many cooks in the kitchen, and we found that, sometimes like there will be multiple departments delegating work to us, and then the people who are paying the bills are like, wait a minute, like, they're not talking to each other, and there tends to be a lot of miscommunication when there's too many people involved. So small to medium size, who either just, don't want to hire in-house, but want help scaling, or B, just need some help to kind of fill in gaps where, they, currently they have to lay off people temporarily, but they still need help getting the work done, or like, somebody goes on maternity leave and they know that person's coming back, but for those, however many months, they need help.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to hire somebody, get them all trained, and then have to probably let them go again. So
yeah. So what kind of tasks are the people doing? What kind of work do you guys do?
We
talk about, it's probably a wide range of things, but let's go through some of those.
Yes. So we have so many services now. So we have everything from general admin, content creation. We do organic social media. We do the digital advertising with like AdWords and Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads. We do web development, both HubSpot and other platforms. We have HubSpot specialists who specialize on the marketing side of HubSpot. And we've got SEO specialists, video editing and production specialists, podcast specialists, graphic designers. I know there's people I'm missing. We have sales assistants. We have project managers. So, I mean, really, we could, with somebody from each of our teams, probably run an agency ourselves.
Yes.
And we even have people who can help with the strategy side too.
Nice. So looking through the website and looking at the team, I was scrolling. You guys have so many people.
I know.
How many do you know? Do you know the number? How many people do you have working with you guys now?
Yes. Today, the number is 62.
Wow.
I feel like we are constantly hiring though. So I feel that number, our goal is to get to 100 by the end of the year.
That's incredible. So, and especially, right now with, industries kind of not necessarily slow, but things are kind of rough right now with the whole.
They're definitely protecting their marketing budgets. We have felt that for sure.
Yes, for sure. So do you guys hire everyone on, or is everyone contractor, or how does that work with you guys?
Yep. Everyone is a W-2 employee.
Okay.
Of Inbound Back Office. So they're all invested in the success of Inbound Back Office. Yeah.
Yeah. So they work for you and not really working for a bunch of different people. They're just working on the tasks for you guys. So that's
right. And they are all part-time. They can kind of really dictate how much they want to work. And then we just hire on, as we get more clients that, for each team, once they start getting to their max capacity, whatever that is, we just add more people to the team.
Nice.
And there are some people on the team who do, freelance on the side. Yeah.
Gotcha. So when it comes to finding agencies, do people usually approach you, or do you guys have a process for reaching out to potential clients?
Right now, we are getting clients solely based on referral business.
Okay.
So Michael will, he's all over Facebook. I hate Facebook, so I don't try not to go near it at all. But he is in an agency Facebook group, and if people ask for specific things like, hey, do you know anybody who can design a logo for me or whatever, he'll just be like, hey, check us out, not super salesy, but just giving him the information. And then, so I get a lot of, calendar bookings through that for sales calls. And then the other is just referrals from current clients.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So what does a process look like once you get a client? You've had the sales call. They're like, yes, I need somebody from your team to help me up. What does that process look like once you get somebody on there? Is there a onboarding strategy or anything like that you guys do?
Yeah, we keep it super simple. So we have a short contract that we have them fill out. And then once they fill that out, our client success manager reaches out to them to schedule a kickoff call. And she has a kickoff call with them to find out, where they want to start. Because we have so many services, a lot of times people will, they might just want to try us out with one thing to start, just to see how it all works. So she'll kind of gauge where they want to start, and then connect them with the right specialist on the team. And then that person, the agency, will work directly with that specialist as if they were part of the team. So they'll add them to their project management tool if they have one. So we don't have any type of tools that we require them to use. So it's super easy. It's just like they were hired somebody onto their team. And they can give them an email address at their domain if they need to. So completely white labeled. And they have full access to that person. And then, if they need other services, we connect them with those people. And then sometimes clients will use so many services that they just don't even want to figure out how to manage it. So they'll connect with one of our project managers, who will then be kind of like that, hey, you just give everything to me and I'll make sure it gets done. Yeah. So it acts as like a single point of contact.
That's makes it so much easier when you have somebody that can, juggle those kind of things. And I saw some of your background. You used to be a project manager too, I did too. So I know exactly. I always described it as like now I'm losing my words here, a person that flags planes coming in and out. What is the air traffic controller? There's
yeah.
It's like throwing a bunch of paper in the air and making sure none of them hit as they're coming down.
Oh gosh,
That's what it feels like as a project manager, because it's just chaos, just utter chaos a lot of times. So
yes, I used to call myself the ringleader of the circus. Like
that sounds accurate. That sounds accurate. Very much so accurate. So starting this business and growing it, what and a lot of people ask these questions, is what did the first 6 months look like when you first started by yourself, and then once you and Michael kind of teamed up together, what were some of the hurdles that you guys went through to get to where you are today?
Well, when I was doing it solo, there just weren't enough hours in the day. And I mean, I'm a self-proclaimed workaholic. I've gotten a lot better over the years. I've learned how to actually relax, but I just really enjoy working. And so, there were a lot of late nights. There were a lot of early mornings. There was a lot of, you guys are on your own for dinner kind of thing. And
Cereal
then
for dinner.
I mean, for y'all, it works. Especially now my kids are older. So I'm like, hey, you guys can actually use the stove. So go make yourself something.
Yep.
But once I started bringing people on, that was even hard because I had trouble controlling, like, I knew what the clients were expecting as far as what they got from me and like turnaround times and responsiveness, and not everybody's like me. And that was very hard for me to get used to. It still is. Luckily, I'm kind of further removed from the people actually doing the work, so which is a good thing for them because I'd be all over them all the time, and they don't need that. That was really hard for me to get over, like allowing them to serve these customers that I had served for so long. Now, the newer customers who didn't have that expectation set, it was much easier.
Yeah.
But those clients who I had been working with for years and finally was like, look, I can't do it all. So you're going to work with this person, but she's really great. And then they would come back to me, and, hearing those, bits of bad feedback was kind of hard, but it was definitely a good learning experience. The other thing that was really challenging was hiring. Once we actually had to go out and hire people that we didn't know, that was really challenging. It was really hard to learn what to look for, and what, like, things to rule out. Like in the beginning, like it felt like we were so desperate. Like I was so desperate to get somebody in here. So I would just like ignore red flags that I saw, and I'd be like, no, it's fine. It's totally fine. This person's great. They have a great personality, and I'm sure they can do the work. And then, inevitably it would end badly. So we've really had to tighten up our like pre-screening type of, process, because now that's going to cut down on the number of applicants that we actually get to talk to, but they're much higher quality. And it still today feels like a struggle to be like, we're not getting these good applicants, but then we finally find a golden nugget, and that's the person we spend our time talking to. It actually works out much better.
Yeah. So is there any red flags that pop up that you're like, that is definitely not somebody we'll want? Is there anything like that that's just, what are those?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I would say, so we pay everybody on an hourly rate. So I would say anybody who, they say they want a certain hourly rate, our rate is lower that we're willing to start at, and they decide that they'll come down, that never works out. It's interesting because I've done that before at a job where I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll do it.
I really
it's
just want the
usually,
job. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what I found is that a month later, they realize that they're not happy because they took the pay cut and they're already looking for another job that's going to pay what they actually wanted. Like they think they want it and that they'll be fine, but then they find that they can't when they actually are doing it. So that is always something that I ask about their minimum hourly rate requirement before we move any further. Even if you post the hourly rate in the job ad, people do not read. Something else I've started doing is adding like a question, like it's kind of like a test in the job ad, like in your cover letter, tell me X, Y, and Z. And so
I do the exact same thing.
Yeah. If they don't answer that question, I know they did not read the full job description.
You're not a detailed enough person to read I'm the same way. I'm like, I'll ask some weird question and ask for like specific 1, 2, 3 things.
Yes.
And if they don't, you're out.
Exactly. Or if they just don't do a cover letter, because clearly, I've asked you a question and for something specific. So that's just like a little way that we can kind of test you know,
before you even get into the process of,
Absolutely. You're able just to go right through and just weed them all out, which helps save a whole lot of time. Because I mean, what I found before I started doing that is a lot of people look really great in a resume. And I'm like, oh yeah, this person is amazing. But then when I talk to them, I'm like, this person is not amazing.
They're just good at writing resumes.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So those are a couple of the red flags that stand out to me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and that little trick of putting, if anybody is listening, if you're looking for employees, throw that little trick in there and you will weed people out quickly.
And it could be something, I mean, I always make it related to that specific job and something I would ask in the interview anyway about that job, but just so that I'm sure that they are actually paying attention and not just, you know, applying to every single thing. And I mean, read the cover letter. I've gotten cover letters that are like, you know, say, in response to your job ad for X, and that's not what our job was for.
It's like somebody had that from a different resume and didn't
they just
remember to update it.
Exactly. So not very detail oriented.
And that's something that's definitely needed. So since you've been running a business for a while, what is your absolute favorite part of running a business? I'm going to go with not taxes and payroll.
No, I don't like that part. I don't like messing with other people's money. So I would say being able to help people. So we have the ability to help the marketing agencies, but even more so, we are able to employ people and give them flexibility. And that was something that I mean, when I first started this, it's not something that I really thought of, but now when I look back, I'm like, that is something I needed back when my kids were real little and I wanted to be there with them. And if a company like this had been around, like I would have taken that in a heartbeat. But now I can make that available to other parents who want to stay at home, or even if you're not a parent, it doesn't matter. Whatever your reasons for wanting that flexibility, I can give that to you. And that to me, I love that. Like, I just love it. I mean, we have people who have been with us for years and years, and they just love it. I mean, you know, you're not gonna, you know, make $1 million a year here, but you're gonna have the flexibility. And, you know, we're very much like, you know, we've got people who work in the middle of the night because that's when it works for them. We've got people who, you know, will work during regular business hours because that's what works for them. They have that option and they get to be, you know, treated like an adult, really.
Yeah.
So,
well, and it's more of a relationship with you and the employees, and not just I'm over you telling you what to do. It's
exactly.
we're in this together, and that is a whole different feeling. So does everybody
100%? Yes, we are 100% remote. Yep. We're all in the US, but we're 100% remote.
Well, and that was before even coronavirus hit. So you guys, I've worked from home for the last 9 years, and I'm like, everybody's like, how have you done it? I'm like, it's normal for me now.
Oh yeah, it was. I mean, when this all hit, it was just like, it's just business as usual for me.
Yeah, everybody's like, how you doing? I'm like, yeah, fine.
I mean, the only change was that now my 13-year-old was here, but I mean, he knows how to do school on his own, and
yeah,
you know,
that's what I said. I was like, I'm used to working at home. I'm not used to having a 3-year-old on the side of my head as I'm working.
Yes, that has been a challenge.
I have 3 little ones at home. So
oh my gosh,
that was I'm ready for school to start back up. Please start back up.
Oh, I know. Same. Yeah, because mine is very much an extrovert, and I'm such an introvert. Like, I could get lost in work for hours and not even realize there's other people around. And so like, he'll come out of his room and he's like, hey, and he just wants to talk and talk. And I'm like, hey, I got a bunch of stuff to do right now. Like,
I am the exact same way. It never fails. He'll walk in while I'm working. I'm like, where are you at 8:00 at night when I'm just, you know, chilling?
Exactly.
Like, that's not when you want to talk. It's always in the middle of work.
We sit together at dinner and you're sitting on your phone watching YouTube. Come on. That's talk time.
We have the same child, I think. So when did the podcast Inbound Back Office come into play? So I noticed you're 140 episodes in. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what made you guys want to even start a podcast?
Well, this was something that Michael made me do. I didn't want to do it. I was terrified, and I was like, nobody wants to listen to me on a podcast. He's like, oh no, this will be great. You'll just interview marketing agency owners. It'll be super easy. And the first couple episodes, I was like, this is horrifying. I hate this. But then once I got it down to a science, now I'm like, yeah, this is awesome. Because, you know, agency owners, everybody wants to be on it. Like they all just want to do it. Even though, I mean, I don't even know what I don't even pay attention. People ask me sometimes like, oh, how many listeners do you have? I'm like, I don't know. I just record it. I'm not the data person. But you know, most people just want to be on it to share their knowledge. And the way I kind of see it now that we have so many episodes is kind of like a giant mastermind group where like agency owners can come and see like a specific topic that they might, you know, want to learn more about. And another agency owner might be a really good expert at that particular thing. So, you know, I love that everybody's just helping each other learn and become better at marketing. Really.
That's what's great about our community is that everybody is willing to help and get their stuff out there. So I couldn't agree more with that. So where do you go for advice, or what activities do you enjoy when you feel stressed or overwhelmed? Or do you ever feel stressed and overwhelmed since you are a workaholic?
Yes, this is actually a huge focus of mine right now. So I've actually been just like a chronic stress junkie since I was a teenager. I mean, I remember when I was a junior in high school thinking I had an ulcer because I was just like, I mean, it's most of it is very self-induced. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on myself. So this year in particular, I have really been working on stress reduction and that sort of thing. I've always been a runner, so I always just thought, oh, well, as long as I just run all the time, like that reduces my stress, right?
Yeah.
What I'm learning is that I probably exercise too much, and that's probably stressing my body too. So, you know, too much of a good thing. But I have been doing much better at really getting good at scheduling things on my calendar. So if it's on my calendar, that will happen, and it will happen at the time that it says.
So even if it's for stuff for yourself, do you schedule things for yourself in there?
Absolutely.
Good.
My runs are on there. If I'm going to do a different type of workout, it's on there. If I'm going to, you know, if it's time, you know, just for my husband, that's on there. It's all on there. Walking the dog, it's all on there because otherwise work will just take over. And I've also gotten really good at stopping working at a particular time during the day. I'm not perfect at it. Some day, I mean, last night I remember we were getting ready to go to bed and I snuck a peek of my email and my husband's like, what are you doing? He's real good at holding me accountable.
Just one little thing, just real quick.
Oh, it's such an addiction. But I've also been doing a lot of like, you know, I've been trying to get more into meditation, trying to do some other types of activities that are not work related, just like taking a break and eating lunch outside to get some fresh air, away from my computer.
I'm notorious for that. I'll get lunch and come right back to my desk and eat here and never get up.
Exactly. Yeah. It's terrible for you. And we know this logically, but yet we just keep doing it.
There's not enough hours. Just not enough hours in the day.
There are not enough hours. That is so true. And what's interesting is that once we started having a good system at Inbound Back Office, like, and you know, the work that I needed to do started to lessen, I was like, well, now what do I do with my time? And so I went out and started consulting. Like, I just fill it with more work because I'm like, I don't know what else to do. This is always what I've just always been a worker. Like, a good deal of my life, I've always had 2 jobs at least. Like, I don't know what else to do.
That's, as I say, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but we do need to relax every so often.
Yeah.
So
everything in moderation is what I'm told.
Yes.
Not really good at that. I'm really more of an all-in kind of person, but working on it.
Yeah. Always a process and daily things we have to do daily. So the last question that I always like ending podcast with is there anything that you're currently reading, watching, or listening to that is helping you grow as a person, as an entrepreneur, as a mom?
Sure. So, I mean, I listen to tons of podcasts and I listen to audiobooks all the time. So, but the one thing that I will stand out, since we were talking about stress reduction, that I just recently started using that I feel has greatly helped with reducing stress is the Calm app. And I just, somebody told me about it a while ago, and I was like, yeah. And then the one day I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try this out and see if it works. And I got it, and I did sign up for the subscription because, all in. And I actually have found myself using it a lot. Like I do the mood check-ins all the time, and then, which makes me think like, why am I feeling that way? What can I do to adjust that,
Yeah.
And they have a daily meditation that's, 10 minutes, that's it. And it just guides you through a meditation. Super easy. You don't have to sit there and, go, how long have I been sitting here?
I've got so much to do. Why am I still sitting here? Yes,
seriously.
that's totally me.
Well, at 4:45 in the morning when you wake up, it's good to do it first thing in the morning.
Are you that early of a riser?
Yeah.
Oh
it used to be earlier, but
is that so you can get your run in?
no, I don't run till a little later. It's just so I can just have some quiet to just prepare for the day. And I like to stretch when I get up, and every once in a while, I'll use that time to go downstairs and get a weightlifting workout in, a quick one. But I like to run I don't like to run in the dark. I had a bad experience one time, and I was like, nope, never doing that again. So wait till the sun comes up to do my run. But yeah, I do like to have that time in the morning just to kind of ease into the day, because I will get super stressed if I feel rushed. And so I learned that a long time ago when my kids were little. I have to get up before everybody, at least an hour before everybody else, so that I can just be like, okay.
Well, and you time without everybody else coming at you. Yes. Well, Amy, where can people learn more about you and about Inbound Back Office?
So I am huge on LinkedIn, Amy Foley. And also, I've been getting a little more active on Instagram, and my name is Amy Foley 721 on there. And then our website is inboundbackoffice.com. All
right. Well, I love it. You guys, Amy, it's been a great getting to know you and talking with you about the agency. So thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, we'll see you next Tuesday.
You've been listening to the Digital Agency Insiders Podcast. For more tutorials on growing your digital marketing agency, make sure to visit digitalagencyinsiders.com.